Hello. So I'm making a video after a while. I'm wearing my glasses this time. Jesus Lord, my throat. I am going to do a video of my thoughts on the characters of The Walking Dead. We have the comic version and the TV version. So, spoilers. Warning. Spoilers. Don't watch the rest of the video then. So, I'm going to lean to the fact that I'm going to do more like a character review, like how I see them in the TV, and then how I see them in the comic. I haven't read all the comic, and I haven't watched all the seasons, so I'm just gonna get by the pieces of clips that I've seen, pieces of episodes, and I read about a little bit over half of the comic, so I'm a little bit more in tune with that than I am with the show. So I did watch the show. I don't have anything against it. I just felt there's some inconsistencies that I felt that I think it would have been better if they kept. So let's not ramble. So we'll go with Rick. Rick, who's the main character of the show. He is, for the most part, he's about the same in both. I think they try to, because TV is different from reading, so I think in TV they try to get you to understand the character more, understand his feelings more. He is also, they look about the same. I think the only difference with that is, for people who've been watching the show and not the comics, is when he faced the governor, he lost his right hand. So he actually does not have a hand on that. And then we were watching the TV series, wondering when that's going to happen. To this day, I think he still has his hand. So, yeah, there's some interesting thoughts on that. But I guess it would make sense to keep it. Maybe they're going to plan to lose it in a while. But I guess it would make sense to keep it in case they need him to use anything with both hands for a while. And then I guess after a while, we'll see. The creator said in the comics, though, that he doesn't plan for Rick to make it all the way to the end of the series. So I guess at some point he's not expected to survive. Carl, I think his actor is, I guess in comparison to the comic, I think his actor is a little dry as opposed to the comic. In the comics, I feel he has somewhat of a child nature, but sort of still guts that seriousness that they're trying to portray more with him in the TV show. I would say he's more likable in the comics. He gets put through some harder decisions, just like he does in the TV show, but I think in the TV show they always keep like the gruffer, tougher exterior with him. But it seems to be okay. I heard rumors that they may actually kill him off, which makes no sense. I think in the most recent one, they claimed that he was bitten. And if you get bitten, then you'll turn into the zombies, and then, yeah, they'll have to get rid of you. Which is weird, because in the comics, he's more of a central character. So they're not just gonna they were not, I don't think even the creator planned to get rid of him, from what I read. But he's a good character so far. I think he has a lot of more guts in the comics. In the TV show he does too, but in the TV show it seems like they based it more like he's more reckless. I'm not saying that the one in the comic isn't. I think I guess in a sense they have some fiery temper, they both do. Not a bad character, though. He is a likable character. Oh, the mother. So, Lori is the mom of Carl and was the wife of Rick. So what people don't understand is, what I really want to get through is the difference between the comics and the TV, because there is a huge difference between them. So in the TV show, they made her out to be very kind of sketchy, kind of unlikable. Sort of like the things she does, people question why she does them, why she acts that way. Like the affair with with Rick, which did happen in the comics, but she was under the impression he was dead. I believe in the show was the same way as well. The difference was as though she completely regretted it and tried to just shove away from Shane in the comics. She would not have anything to do with him. I would think in the show, she sort of seemed to more be manipulated between using Shane and then Rick and then so forth and that. And that led to a lot of issues. Because she even had arguments, I think, one with Andrea at the table, between Andrea trying to keep them safe from Watchers, and Laurie is more like, well, we should focus more on doing clothes and doing our part. You know, you're not really doing much except just standing guard. And you get the idea that they try to make her more unlikable. Which in the comics, though, she is actually more likable. She did regret it. She was completely more dedicated to Rick. She was very cautious, worried about him every time he left, worried about Carl. She tried to do what she could, but she didn't put anybody down. She didn't try to, like, manipulate anyone. She shoved Shane away. Shane's death was reversed, too. So in the comics, I believe, Carl's the one that shot him in the neck, and then Rick later on came back to find his corpse and shot him in the head. While in the TV show, I believe Rick killed Shane, and then when Shane came back as a zombie, Carl's the one who shot him and finished him off. It's kind of interesting, but it worked. I thought both adaptations were interesting. Comics seemed a little but it was unique, and the TV show was like, oh, well, that seems kind of interesting. So they kind of went on the good route with that. Laurie's death was kind of twisted. So, you know, on the show you have the baby, Judith is still alive. Yeah, not the case in the show. So, well, not the case in the comics. The show, she's alive. So in the show, Judith was being born, and Laurie died from, I believe, losing too much blood because they had to cut her open, and then Carl finished her off by shooting her in the head. And he looked so ticked, which I felt was kind of unrealistic for a kid. Why, like, I mean, if it was going to happen, yay, but he came out all, like, angry and serious, and we're like, this is a little unrealistic. Like, no kid's going to really shoot their mom in the head, especially if they like their mom. And he did like her mom. And just be like, okay, she's dead. Claire, walk, 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 walk. And I was like, oh. So in the comic, though, it was more gruesome. It was more gruesome what went down. I guess maybe this is why they didn't want to do it for TV. Rick and Carl were running out of the prison with Laurie, and Laurie was holding Judith, and they were all running because the governor's people came to attack, and Lily was one of the shooters on the governor's side, and he told her to shoot her, and Lily was unaware that Judith was running with a child. I guess she was just, okay, well, maybe they're bad people, just shoot them. So when Lily made the shot, it shot Judith, I think, around the back and out a little bit in the stomach, which kind of hit the baby as well, and then they both fell to the floor, and Laurie's body literally crushed Judith, and they both died. And Carl and Rick were horrified, and they ran off. It's horrible. It's horrible. But I was like, wow, it was really emotional. TV show, I guess they wanted it to be kind of like, nah, I don't know if we want to do that. The other inconsistencies is, for people who don't know, Daryl is strictly TV only. He does not exist in the comics. I think they made him to bring more action to the show. He doesn't exist in the comics, so there's nothing we can say about him. I guess in the show he's kind of like a badass that beats people up and kills zombies, and is like Rick's first-hand guy to go to. So the Carol and Sophia incidents, this kind of made me twitch a bit. I like what they did with Carol on the show. I just thought it was unnecessary to kill the daughter. Because in the show, she came out of the barn, she was bitten when they went out of Herschel's barn, and she was a zombie. Ugh. So then, she came out, and then they had a shooter. Well, in the comics, none of this even happened. Comics, Carol died in the prison because she walked up to a zombie and it bit her, and she was kind of psycho at that point. She started out as a good person. She still kind of was, but I guess she felt rejected from Tyrese, and she felt rejected from Lori and Rick, because Tyrese was with Carol in the comics, but then he sort of went with Michonne, and then Carol kind of felt, oh my god, he doesn't like me anymore. And she shoved him away, and then she tried to see if she could be in like in a threesome relationship with Rick and Lori, and that creeped them out, and they said no. And then basically, she felt unloved, and I guess she sort of lost her sanity with all the Walking Dead and everything. So she went to the zombie, seeing how much, like, oh, the zombie listens to her, the zombie probably likes her, and then the zombie, like, literally bit her, and she's, like, enjoying the bite and everything, and she becomes a zombie, and then they kill her. Carol didn't do that in the TV show. As you can see, she became a badass. She kind of went and shot her and beat that. And I kind of like that they did that with her. I was like, okay, that probably seems a little bit more cooler. The Sophia one's kind of weird. I personally liked Sophia. I think being one of the younger kids that were around, I always felt like the creator plans to do something with her and Carl. Being they're the young kids, maybe they'll grow up and then they have to deal with this world or find some kind of solution to this world. And in the comics, she doesn't do too much. She kind of is a side character that goes with them, is protected by them, is with them. Even to this day, she's still with them. Sophia has not died. There's been a year span, too. Only improvement I think I've noticed, which I guess is kind of an interesting situation, is they hinted that Sophia is good at fighting. So she beat up like 2 bullies. So she can punch him and kick him. So I guess over the years she learned how to kick butt, which is kind of interesting. Then the Andrea one didn't make a lot of sense to me. So in the show, Michonne is with Rick, and in the comic, Michonne's more standoffish. She is cool with the group, but she doesn't really engage with them very much, only for combat and fighting. Most of the romantic series goes between Rick and Andrea in the comics, while in the show it didn't really go to that level. Eventually they killed Andrea off really quick, and at first I figured maybe the actress didn't want to be a part of the show anymore, something happened, but it actually turned out that the actress did want to be a part of the show. She was aware what was going to go on in the comics. She wanted to go through with it, but I guess situations happen on set with producers or directors or people that they changed it up a bit, and then they just decided to off her so it can be more dramatic. She got bit, and then she just took her own life early in the seasons, while in the comics, she lived a long time in the comics. She actually recently died in the comics. She was infected when she was rescuing somebody on a horse, and she got, I think, bit in the back of the neck, and she knew she was going to turn, so Rick was an emotional mess. He was crying for her. He didn't want to kill her. She became a zombie, and then he had no choice but to put her away. It was very, very emotional. I think that would be really powerful if they'd invested in that for the TV show, but they didn't. As far as Andrea's success in the TV show, she did kill a lot of people, kill a lot of zombies, shot a lot of things. On the comic, she is known as a really great marksman, so she can almost pinpoint or shoot somebody easily. Which is pretty awesome. Like, she's one of the best shooters. She also went through the most torture. So you don't get to see this in the show, but she wound up dealing with the psychopath when they were in the prison who scarred her right in the cheek and cut off part of her lobe. Then she also had, when she was shooting, snipering at some of the bad guys, I believe it was one of the governor's people at the time, they sniped her and it just missed her skull, just hit like her face. We thought she was dead, but she wasn't. She took a lot of damage to the head. She's a badass. Then her and Rick eventually became a couple. And over the years, Carl referred to her as Mom, because she helped take care of him too. I thought that would have been interesting to see. Guess they had different plans. They were like, no, none of that. Maggie and Glenn were more likable, I think, romantically and character-wise in the show. They wanted to make them be more sweet and kind of like, hey, they're cute together, let's make them go together. In the comics, it's similar, but it seemed more like they settled for each other, and then over time they grew to like one another because of the situation. Maggie admit there's not many guys out there. She'd go with him, she'll sleep with him, and then Glenn's like, oh, okay. And then it just blossomed into a romantic relationship over time. But they're really nice characters. I would say they're lovable on both versions. If you're a fan of the comics, you'd like them. they explore more with them. If you're a fan of the show, you'll love them too. I think they put Gled in more of the freaky situations with the zombies and trying to like survive and not get killed up until the Negan point. That's the same. If anybody wants to know what happened with the Negan situations, it's the same. Yes, it's the same. Glenn meets the same fate on the show as he does on the comics. A little different how it leads up to that, but it's the same way. I think what was also traumatizing too is Sophia was with Maggie's arm when that took place. Because obviously she's dead in the show, so she can do that. But Maggie was holding on to her, and Sophia refused to look at Negan, literally using Lucille, and just horrible situation. Michonne's pretty much are the same. Just about the same. I think on the show they wanted her to be more approachable for audience. In the comics, she's more standoffish. In the show, they seem like she's more approachable. For the most part, it's the same. She killed the governor. No, wait. No, she didn't kill the governor. The governor got killed by Lily. I think she killed the governor later on in the show. I don't remember. I think so. But when she was captured by the governor, like, in the comic, it was gruesome. He raped her and tortured her and beat her. Well, when she broke out, she literally cut his arm, fired it to stop the bleeding, stabbed him in the shoulder with, like, a drill tool. She used a spoon and plucked his eye out. Like, she literally messed him up horribly. And then I was thinking to myself, I don't think people are ready to see that on television. So we're like, we can't make it that gruesome. We'll just make her stab him in the eye with the glass. I guess it worked. But I was like, yeah, maybe they don't want to put that on TV. But it was pretty badass. Anybody who's a Michonne fan, you'd love the comics and what she did to him. There are numerous amount of characters that don't exist in the comics and characters that do exist on the show. Some I was cool with, some I wasn't cool with. Sasha was cool. I think they gave her the Holly role, for the most part. Then, we had other characters in there, too. Lizzie and Mika, the two girls, they were replaced by twins in the comics, which was Billy and Ben. It was similar. It's a little different, but it was similar. Carol put a bullet to Lizzie, as you saw in the show. And the comic book, Carl shot the one kid when everybody was sleeping because they figured they didn't want to shoot the kid. He's just a child. It was very traumatizing for him, but it was pretty interesting. It was quite a good character development. So that's like a minor little, my personal review on the characters. I like the comic a little more, but I want to see what they're going to do with the TV show. I'm not going to disregard it, so I'm not going to trash TV fan people. I'm like, you never know. They might do something interesting that'll make me be more drawn to it. They definitely are really good at capturing suspense and audience. But I've always been a reader, so I like the comics on how well they went about with it. I could say more about it, but it's going to take hours and hours and hours. But I figured I'd do a video of like what I've been doing lately, which was reading more on The Walking Dead and watching more on The Walking Dead. So in the future, I will probably try to make more videos. I got to see which one I want to do next. We'll see. But until then, you guys all take care, and I'll see you later.